Hello friends, welcome once again. I'm Sachin Bhardwaj and I'm here to present you with the economic survey chapter, prices, agriculture and food, and this is part third of such chapter. So in last chapters we discussed about the various trends in the inflation, especially in agricultural sector, what is hindering the agricultural sector, what are the types of you can say your inflation, that is WPI and CPI. So now we are here today to discuss more into the pathways to increase productivity in agriculture sector. First such pathway we will like to say that is agriculture, that is irrigation. So, economic survey suggests that to raise the productivity of agriculture in India, there is need to expand the acreage under the irrigation. What is acreage? Acreage is basically the area of land that need to be increased under irrigation projects. And apart from irrigation itself, we need to adopt appropriate technologies for efficient utilization of water, and the pricing should be suitable for this agricultural endeavors. Reason being, you must be aware of the water shortage in Maharashtra, especially in Latur and all. So, appropriate technologies to mitigate the wastage of water, along with increasing the land, the area which is under irrigation. First, adaptation of irrigation technologies which improve efficiency in the use of water is imperative. Look, we are having a scenario where flood irrigation has resulted in wastage of water. Then why to go for such a type of irrigation? And second, the focus on efficient irrigation technologies is important. Increasing water shortages owing to climate change and indiscriminate wastage of water in agriculture and other uses, that is the prime hindrance in the irrigation sector we are looking into. And without proper irrigation we won't be able to increase the productivity of our agriculture. So how to increase efficiency in irrigation then? Achieving efficiency in the use of irrigation system will be the main determinant of the agricultural productivity, as we are discussing. So the conventional system of irrigation have become non-viable in many parts of India due to increased shortage of water and wastage of water. Why? Because of over irrigation and concern, this also gives you a concern that over irrigation will lead you to the salination of soil. The introduction of efficient irrigation technologies, which are both economically and technologically efficient, like drip irrigation and sprinkler irrigation technologies, will be a better choice to use, and they will also reduce your cost of production by reducing labor cost and power consumption. The adaptation of sprinkler irrigation, let me give you an example, that resulted in 35 to 40% savings of irrigation water in a cultivation of groundnut and cotton in Gujarat, Karnataka, Andhra Pradesh. So such examples need to be emulated by the other areas or crops in these states and other states also for a larger basket of crops, not only for groundnuts and not only for cotton. You need to apply this method for your wheat cultivation, you need to apply this method in your horticulture and so on. So, discussing more is about water productivity. Water productivity at the all India level is very low, and it needs to be enhanced through tapping, harvesting and recycling water and efficient on-farm water management practices. Okay. So, another pathway which will lead the Indian agriculture to increase its productivity is mechanization. The level of farm mechanization in India requires more to be done in terms with shortage of labor for agricultural operations. We know we are having a shortage of agricultural labor these days. They are more into the construction activities in big towns like Gurgaon in Maharashtra, or in, for that matter, in Punjab. So, shift from agriculture to services and rise in demand for labor in non-farm activities, there is a need to use labor for agricultural operations judiciously. So, which makes itself in a strong case for mechanization of farming. Okay, if we are not having labor, manual labor, then automatically we need to go for more mechanization. So, the overall level of mechanization in India, अगर हम इंडिया की बात करें तो इंडियन फार्मिंग में mechanization का level is even below than 50%. You can say that 50% in the case of majority of farming operations in India. With increase in fragmentation of land holdings and low rates of tractor penetration among small farmers, so what should be done? There is a need for a market in tractor rentals. आप ट्रैक्टर्स को रेंट पर रेंट आउट कीजिए. And जैसे we are having the cars, we are having the road constructions equipment, and this endeavor should be done in collaboration with the private participation. So, the promotion of appropriate farm equipment which are durable, lightweight, low cost, region, and crop specific, using indigenous adaptive technologies, they need to be made available for small and marginal farmers to improve their productivity. And another major area is productivity through seed development. Look, we are discussing various ways that how can we make our agricultural sector to produce more and to contribute more into the GDP growth. So, the basic input for increasing productivity in agricultural sector is obviously seed. And in order to have better yield, we need to have a seed development. So, it is estimated that the quality of seed across for 20 to 25% of productivity. It accounts if you are having a better quality seeds, then your productivity is almost 20 to 25% more. So, why should we go for the higher quality of seeds? But there are multiple challenges in India. There are challenges that the development and adaptation of quality seeds in form of we are having inadequate research inputs, and we are having we are not having that early ripening and resistant to pest and moisture resistant seeds. So apart from this high cost of these productive seeds, or in developed seeds are actually non-starter for the farmers to afford these kind of seeds, and the shortage of supply of quality seeds from the supply side itself, non-resolutions of related matters like adaptation of GM crops, that is genetically modified crops, and inadequate number of the players in the it is also restricting the competition altogether. So there are major challenges with which we need to actually challenge, encounter first, find a solution. Then we'll be able to have a productivity through the seed development sector. Now, what are the issues जो कि हमें we need the immediate attention? First of all, affordability. Seeds which are open pollinated varieties, they can be developed by farmers on their own harvested crops. जिन्होंने कुछ अपना सेल आउट कर लिया, कुछ यूज़ कर लिया, बाकी को उन्होंने उठा कर रख लिया, जो pollinated varieties होती हैं कि we will grow further crops from it. But however, for high yielding hybrid varieties, the farmers has to depend upon the market for each crop. So for small and marginal farmers, the cost of hybrid seed is very high. So it affects the viability of the farming. Second issue is availability. This concern of shortage in supply of quality seeds. While there is a demand for banning of non-certified seeds, certification per se does not ensure quality actually. If you are having certificate, so that is actually in India, it is not ensuring the quality. Ideally, facilitating more players, that means both private and public seed producers, and competition to promote the competition in the market, that will definitely improve the availability of quality seed at the lower and competitive prices. Another major area for concern is research and technology for seed development. We all saw the first green revolution. So it was driven by indigenously developed high yielding varieties, that is, of paddy and wheat. So inadequate research and genetic engineering has been a constraint in the development of seeds and seed technologies in major crop during the past few decades in India. So there is a need to increase the development of seeds or the seed technologies in both private and public sector to initiate another round of green revolution. Another such burning issue is GM crops and seeds. Concerns about affordability of hybrid seeds and GM seeds, and environmental and ethical issues in cultivation of GM crops, and the risk to the food chain, disease spreading, and cross pollination, they have all combined, they have resulted into their non-introduction. Okay, we are not at all ready for GM crops yet. So these issues, they need to be debated, they need to be tested, they need to be evaluated. Then if we are in our 30s are giving all okay thumbs up sign, but they should do it with a more faster pace, so that whether we should have a GM crop or not, it should be clear for us. So having discussed this, let us concentrate and look the other sector, that is fertilizers, which the reform under which will help the agricultural sector to improve. Fertilizer is basically a critical and expensive input which is required to improve agricultural output. So in India, there has been a sharp increase in use of fertilizers since the Green Revolution, that is from mid of 1960s. यहाँ से तब से we are witnessing a increase in the use of fertilizers. So to facilitate and promote the use of fertilizers in order to improve productivity, the government has done their part. They have been providing fertilizer subsidies to the farmers. The fertilizer subsidy is around 10% of the total agricultural GDP in 2013-14. But, however, the use of fertilizers has not resulted in commensurated growth in agricultural productivity, though your increase in fertilizer, your uses of fertilizer is on the increase, but it is not corresponding with the agricultural productivity. No, not at all. They are giving you an equating effect. The declining response, or the declining ratio, I would say, or marginal productivity of the fertilizers since 1970s is a pointer to their inefficient use in Indian agriculture. For example, the yield of grain per kilogram use of NPK fertilizer. देखिए 1970 में अगर आप 13.4 किलोग्राम ग्रेन पर हेक्टेयर आप ऑब्टेन करते थे 1970s में, और आज की डेट में अगर हम बात करें तो दैट हैज़ बीन डिक्लाइंड ओनली टू 3.7 kg per hectare. So these figures shows you that there is a decline in fertilizer to agricultural output ratio. So there must be crop responsive and balanced use of fertilizers in that case. So it is important to facilitate the optimal use of fertilizers depending on the soil health and fertility status. Linking the soil health card to provide the profile of the soil and fertilizers on the basis of some same profile utilizing fertilizer, even if not subsidized, even the government is not subsidizing this fertilizer, we can, in that case even we can improve the yield of crops. So we just all need to, हम सॉइल की हेल्थ देखें, उसकी एक प्रोफाइल बनाएं, उसी के हिसाब से उस फर्टिलाइजर्स यूजेस को उसके साथ लिंक करें, उतना ही फर्टिलाइजर यूज करें, then we'll be able to increase productivity in that case. Then what about micronutrient and organic fertilizers? So Indian soils, they show that the deficiency of micronutrients is there, like the nutrients like boron, zinc, and copper and iron. These are called micronutrients. So Indian soil health card, they shows that there is a deficiency of these micronutrients across in most part of the country. So this deficiency that leads to the limits and that inhabited the low crop yield and their productivity. So the micronutrient deficiency that can be overcome if if there is an expansion of use of organic fertilizers. Moreover, it is cheaper. Even small farmers can adopt and use organic composition and manure. This can help improve retaining the soil fertility. With 67% of Indian soil characterized by low organic carbon, there is a great scope for enhancing the use of organic fertilizers. There is also a regional disparity in fertilizer comparison. How come? There are wide regional disparities in consumption of fertilizers. As such, these disparities in fertilizers consumption, you can attribute that availability of irrigation in various parts. That is also, there are also disparities in uses of irrigation facilities, and the high consuming states which are having irrigation is also using high fertilizers. So it is necessary to reduce the disparities through appropriate soil testing facilities and policy measures. Now, next such determinant of the agricultural productivity is pesticides. In India, the farmers' crop yield, the crop yield loss range is 15 to 25%. कहा जाता है कि 15% से 25% तक क्रॉप खराब हो जाती है ड्यू टू वीड्स, pests and diseases, rodents, etc. So, even though the pesticides are essential for improving your crop yields, the per hectare pesticide use is much lower in India in comparison with other countries. But we see that अगर हम इन लोगों से बाकी कंट्रीज से कम पेस्टिसाइड्स यूज कर रहे हैं, उसके बावजूद भी they are entering our food chain. Yes, the uses of pesticides without following proper guidelines and use of substandard pesticides and lack of awareness about the pesticides that they how to use them, that is basically making these pesticides to enter our food chains. So they are being giving concern that these pesticide residues are being found in our food products, and they pose major threats to environment and the human beings, obviously. So what we need to do, farmers need to be educated about the classification of insecticides on the basics of देखिए आप उनको बताइए कि देखिए इसका बेसिक टॉक्सिक लेवल ये है, इसका यूजेस ये होगा, दैट इज हाउ इट नीड टू बी sprinkled or how it need to be used. Then this proper uses will obviously reduce this threat. They should also be advised that whether specific pesticides are suitable for aerial application, जो हवा में हम जिसका छिड़काव करते हैं, then there has been incidences like the aerial spraying of endosulfan in a literate state like Kerala, which resulted in serious health hazard in the entire village. So, having discussed about the pesticides, let us move to the other avenue, that is credit availability in agriculture. Credit, that is an important mediating input for agriculture and to improve its productivity. Access to institutional credit enables the farmer to enhance productivity by investing in machinery and purchase of variable inputs like fertilizers. They purchase from this credit the quality seeds. He can purchase manure and provide funds till the farmers receive their own payments from the sale of their produce. So the predominance of informal sources of credit for farmers is a concern. According to NSSO, when they conducted their 70th round of survey, they say that as much as 40% of the funds of farmers they still come from informal sources. These local money lenders they account for almost 26% of share of the total agricultural credit. Though there has been a decline in informal sector and formal sources of credit for the agricultural sector, but we need to enhance their access to the institutional credit. There is still so much of scope to improve their institutional credit participation in the agricultural sector. And obviously the regional disparity in the distribution of agricultural sector that also needed to be addressed. So the coverage of agricultural credit is very low in northeastern and eastern regions of the country. So we need to further make available institutional credit to these areas. Agricultural extension services. That is seventh such point, which will and which can help in increasing the agricultural produce. Agricultural extension services constitutes another key input which can improve productivity in agriculture by providing timely advisory services. And this will in turn enable the farmers to adopt best practices, best technologies, and they will be able to meet the contingencies and the market information, etc., through the agricultural extension services. Now, it comes to the food management then. The main aim of food management policy is to provide food security to the population. And providing food security entails making food available at the affordable prices and all times. But by this picture must be explaining you the entire story, the real picture as such. So, in order to provide good security in the current agricultural scenario, India has to focus on supplies, which should be timely and uninterrupted, along with they are being affordable to the poor. Though India's GDP growth has been impressive and the agricultural production has also increased over the past few decades, hunger and starvation, these two problems, they still persist among the poorer section of the population. There is a strong correlation between stability in agricultural production and food security. If your agricultural production is stable, then food security will automatically be performing well. On the other hand, volatility in agricultural production impacts your food supplies, and that in turn can result into spikes in food prices which adversely affect the lowest income groups of the citizens. So with a large number of people who remain undernourished and the issues of volatility in agricultural prices, India का जो economic survey है 2015-16 they points out the largest number of food schemes in the India to ensure food security. That is our various schemes like integrated child development schemes, ICDS, or under this scheme that all children under 6 and pregnant and lactating mothers are given food under this scheme, and midday meal schemes, food subsidy programs like the targeted public distribution system, Annapurna system, under which you distribute 10 kgs of free food grains for the destitute poor, and the employment programs like Manrega. So the economic survey points out of 2015-16 that these schemes should be applied more vigorously and with proper management, because there are schemes available but they are not being implemented properly. There are actually leakages. For leakages, let us discuss for that matter public distribution system and its correlation with the food subsidy. PDS strives to ensure food security, through timely and affordable distribution of food grains, and to whom? To the sections of population that live below the poverty line. These populations are those citizens of India which cannot afford to pay market price for their food. I'm sorry. So this involves the procurement of food grains at a minimum support price, that is MSP, by the government, and building up and maintenance of food stocks, their storage, their timely distribution, making food grains accessible at the reasonable price to the vulnerable section of the population. However, the system of PDS had many weaknesses, leading to leakage and targeted beneficiaries being left out of the system as such. The PDS incurs high costs for their procurement. They incur high costs for their storage, and they incur even higher costs for the distribution of food grains. So there is a scope to increase efficiency in PDS operations and thus in turn reducing the cost. Only a small proportion of public expenditures or subsidies on PDS reaches to the beneficiary. So that is a shame. There is a case for introducing direct benefit transfer for the consumers of food and kerosene, as it is underway in the Andhra Pradesh. So likewise, other states can initiate steps in that direction. So likewise, we have to revisit our PDS system to make it more efficient and to make it play an important role in the food security for the country. So that is it, and thereby we conclude this chapter. We'll be meeting you again soon with another chapter. Till then, thank you, bye-bye, and take care, and do visit our website www.decipheris.com. Thank you.